Welcome back to Free Media. I'm Robby Soave.
Must be nice.
All right, New York City mayoral candidate and Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani was interviewed on Fox News and provided more details about just how much money he would like the government to confiscate from wealthy New Yorkers. Take a look.
So a lot of individuals in this city pay more than 50% of their income in taxes. When you talk about a fair share, how much more than, what is the fair share? What's the number?
I've said that we should increase personal income taxes by 2%.
Is fair?
And my point is this.
Give up more than half of your income. That's
if you're making $1 million in New York City, or more than that, you can afford to pay 2% more. And the reasons you can afford to do so is because that money will be used to better your quality of life as well.
Yeah.
Because when I speak to the wealthiest New Yorkers, I hear concerns about the cleanliness of the city, the quality of life in the city, questions of public safety. This money is the money that will be used to deliver on those things so that we can ensure that we have a return on investment for all of the money that we are raising and spending right here across the 5 boroughs.
He also declined to say whether he thought Hamas should be disarmed. Watch this.
I want to get to that, absolutely. But do you believe that Hamas should lay down their weapons and leave the leadership in Gaza?
I believe that any future here in New York City is one that we have to make sure that's affordable for all. And as it pertains to Israel and Palestine, that we have to ensure that there is peace. And that is the future that we have to fight for.
But you won't say that Hamas should lay down their arms and give up leadership in Gaza.
I don't really have opinions about the future of Hamas and Israel beyond the question of justice and safety and the fact that anything has to abide by international law. And that applies to Hamas, that applies to the Israeli military, applies to anyone you could ask me about.
Okay. One last thought on that. You have said that you would arrest Netanyahu if he came to the United States. You've been very outspoken.
I've actually been on the side of not caring all that much about Mamdani's opinions on the Middle East. He's running to be the mayor of New York. I care much more about the awful socialism that we'll discuss in a moment. And I think some of the attacks on him have been unfair. This one stuck out to me because, I don't know if you knew this, 3 years ago, he tweeted that we should ban all guns. So what is his view? We ban all guns except for, but then it's Hamas's guns. Well, I don't want to say anything. That's bullshit. How hard is it to say, yes, Hamas should be disarmed, and I don't like Israel, and I don't like what they're doing, and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Hamas is a radical terrorist group that killed a bunch of people, and in an ideal world, we would not want them armed. I don't know what's so hard about that to say, especially if you're willing to disarm the populace at large. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
I was worked up about this.
Good to talk to you, Robby.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. So socialism.
Yeah.
So it's already, right, as you mentioned before we started rolling this, you know, just a stickler for the facts here.
I am. Well, what I wanted to know
the distinction
was the distinction here. So
it's already 50%.
She's saying it's 50% for the top earners, and you're wanting to raise it to 52. As I understand it, he's saying he wants a 2% increase on the top earners, but I don't know what his marginal top tax rate is. It sounds like $1 million. So if you're earning $1 million, there's going to be an additional 2% income tax within New York City. Is that the deal?
Yes. I don't want to say that that's not that much, but it is expensive to live in New York, and the people who live there have much higher incomes.
I barely got by on $800,000 when I was there.
Well, you're joking, but I don't know that that's that crazy, honestly.
I lived in a fucking converted dumbwaiter with a psychopath and a couple of rats.
Yeah.
And that was more expensive than where I'm currently living now, yes.
Yes, correct. So my point being that 2% difference is meaningful. We already, you know, if you're in the wealthiest, 5% of the income distribution anywhere, you're giving basically half your income to the government. I mean, it was like 40%, maybe, something like that. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of your income. These cities are very expensive to live in. I had an awful time with the IRS last year, Heaton. Just an awful time. Not good. Not good.
Did you get audited?
And I didn't get audited, but you know, the complication from working multiple jobs for multiple public media organizations, getting paid freelance income and all those things, it was a mess, and I owed more than I expected at the end of the year.
What I did is I died legally. I'm dead for tax purposes.
So finally, about time.
Don't tell them.
Yes.
But I've been dead since about 1998, as far as they know.
Well, no one watches this. It's fine.
I'm told.
You know, if I was a New Yorker, I'd be like, oh my God, how much more of my money, of my hard-earned money, does this guy need to do what? To start a publicly run grocery store that's an idea that's failed everywhere else? I mean, to do what with? To improve? Again, we all want the transportation improved. We need more buildings built. That's the only thing that's going to lower the cost. And that's going to be some cockamamie.
Oh, you're one of those guys who believes in supply and demand?
It's just so crazy.
You don't think that prices rise due to greed? That when prices go lower, it's because the president of United Airlines is spending more time with his family so that the prices went down?
I don't believe that. And I say that the same thing to conservatives when they're like, we need to deport the entire workforce and make the cost of raw materials more expensive. I'm like, well, that's dumb. We won't have any factories or buildings if we do that.
I've got a concurring opinion to what you're saying. So this summer,
I'll call you Elena Kagan.
Yeah, exactly. That's only on Thursdays. It's Smokey Joe's. That's my stage name.
Yeah.
I went to Nordo, Scandinavia this summer. You can't call it Scandinavia because the Finns won't fucking admit they're Scandinavians. They're Nordic. But I went to Nordo, Scandinavia. I was taken with it. It was nice. Finland's a nice country. Sweden's a nice country. Sweden's a very nice country. And there is an argument to be made that I'm willing to engage in of will we pay higher taxes in order to ensure that everybody has a higher quality of life? I think they pull it off over there. They're paying higher taxes, but they get a lot of bang for their buck. But that is different than what we're doing over here. And I will add, it also seems to be very different what I saw over there and the people that I interviewed, like Johan Norberg, from what socialists in America think they're up to.
Mm-hmm.
So Mamdani and many of his ilk, based on what he said, based on what I've read, is they're wanting to increase spending and also get rid of market forces because markets are evil and exploitative. That's not what Scandinavia is doing.
No.
Sweden is more dynamic in their economy than us. They have looser labor laws. They have looser regulatory system. They have higher taxes. That's true. They do pay more in their taxes. Their top marginal tax rate's a lot lower. Like if you're earning like $65,000 a year, you're going to pay 50% in Sweden. So it's very high. That being said, though, I think the money actually goes to helping people. Now, were you to just, everything's the same in America right now, and you raise everybody's taxes 10%, I guess sugar subsidies get a lot more money, and we put maybe more of it towards interest on the debt. I don't think that it would have a one-to-one ratio, and I question the efficacy of that with the so-called, like anybody that doesn't know the difference between socialism and social democracy is already suspect in my book. Mm-hmm. When people say I'm a socialist like in Sweden, well, you don't know what you're talking about because they don't think that they're socialists. They're capitalists that raise taxes and redistribute it through a social safety net. I'm willing to have that debate. I like having a progressive income tax. The premises that he's working with, I don't disagree with. We're going to charge people that are making a lot more money a little bit more in taxes to get that. I'm fine with that. My problem is I don't trust them to implement it because I think they tend to think the Bernie Sanders Mamdani lot tends to think that the problem is we have exploitative capitalists that are sucking money out of people, and if we could just ban greed. If we could ban greed, then we'd be able to contain it and it would go away. And it's like, nope, you have to have emergent, robust markets with self-interest lifting the boats in order to get the money to fund this shit. So that's where I'm concerned and why I don't think it'll end up working.
Yeah. I think his ideas are, for the reasons you've outlined, just absolutely terrible. His presentation is very good.
He seems like a nice guy. I'd hang out with him.
Seems like a nice guy.
I would be in his D&D group.
I don't have any more room in either of my D&D groups. We're full. We're all full right now.
So you tell me that all.
Yeah.
I don't even ask.
You keep auditioning for it.
Robby messages me 3 times a week to let me know I can't be in his D&D group, but I know. I fucking know.
We would make room for Andrew Heaton if we could. Yeah, good dude. Would chill with. Join a group chat that shares way too much Nazi humor to refer to our previous segment, and I bet he'd lull at that.
But yes, that being said, though, the grocery store thing makes me go nope.
Yeah.
Like the grocery. I can't think of a better example of, well, that's not why grocery prices are high. And then you get into any of the knowledge of it. And he's like, well, we'll save costs by having like a centralized distribution center. And you're like, the private sector would never figure that shit out. Mm-hmm. It would never occur to them to save costs by having a distribution center. So yes, that kind of thing makes me very, very suspect as to whether anything, or like some of the other things too. Like one of his other big pitches at the beginning of the campaign was free busing. And New York already significantly subsidized busing. If you're older or you're poor, you get free busing. Or I think if you're a student, maybe. But if you're older or you're poor, you get it. It's about like less than half the people in New York are actually paying the bus fare. So what you end up doing then is you're making it to where a ton more people are going to get on it. You're shifting it around, and it's not necessarily going to improve the situation. I don't think that he's got a great grasp of economics, even if he is a nice guy.
And if you abolish the police, as he wanted to do 5 years ago, abolish them entirely, who is going to arrest Netanyahu the second he sets foot on American soil? So he's just in conflict with his other goals.
Do you think that if he gets elected, there will be an egress of wealthy people from New York?
Yes.
You do?
It's already happening. Already we're seeing the movement from blue cities to red states that still have a cool nightlife, like Austin or something, Texas, but have more favorable regulatory and housing policies. I've seen reports recently, the amount of new housing being built in Team Red controlled areas is astounding compared to the blue areas.
Yeah,
and that is going to be...
Houston's kicking ass. Texas is kicking ass. Texas has done great things. And I have a lot of problems with Texas, but it's not on housing.
You moved away from... Oh, no, you were in... weren't you down in Oklahoma?
Well, I'm from Oklahoma.
You're from
I'm
Oklahoma.
a beloved scion of Oklahoma, but
Okay.
I've been
I thought you were from the Scottish Highlands or something, but...
Deep down, I'm two things. I'm a fake cowboy and a fake Scot. But when you add them together, I become authentically me. This is according to my therapist.
Yeah.
I don't have a therapist.
Well, at least you're circumcised.
At least I'm circumcised.
Yeah.
No, I moved to D.C. from Austin, Texas. So I was in the Brooklyn of Texas for the last 5 years. They're great on housing policy. Texas has capped minimum lot sizes, really making it redundant and dumbing it down. Texas basically told all of the mid-sized cities, you can't have minimum lot sizes larger than whatever Houston's doing. Like I'm mangling that, but they went, you can't go 3 acres anymore, guys. You can't do any. You can make it this large, no larger than that, which is a good sign. Houston's building a ton of housing. They don't have Euclidean zoning ordinances. They do have a certain amount of anti-density laws they get through traffic regulations and things, but it's still not nearly as bad. And New York, you couldn't build 60% of the buildings that are currently in the New York City skyline would be illegal now if you built them. And there's a need for housing, and it is.
They need to get rid of that stupid regulation that does not, from my understanding, improve safety whatsoever, where they got to erect that kind of like barrier over the sidewalk when they're doing construction on a building. New York is the only place that has these things, the kind of protective thing so nothing falls on your head. It is not associated with any increase in safety. It just makes it far more cumbersome to do any construction or remodeling of old buildings.
There's like when I moved there, maybe they've fixed this, but when I moved there and Marcus Aurelius Bloomberg was still the god mayor of the city making enlightened decisions on behalf of us peons, he'd put in a policy at the time where any new large residential building had to have X amount of housing units reserved for low-income people. And you could apply whenever, and you'd be on a wait list for 3 or 4 years, but it was based on when you applied at the time. So if you just graduated from college, and you went to Dartmouth, and you're about to make $80,000 your first year out, but you're technically making zero right now, you could go apply there. And then in 3 to 4 years, when you're making $120,000, they'd look and go, well, that's our kind of person. And then I had friends that bought a house. Like they had subsidized housing in New York. They bought a house upstate because they were able to use those subsidies to benefit them. And there's a lot of things I'd change about New York. Have them tackle that.
Yeah.
I know Mamdani got interviewed by Derek Thompson, who wrote Abundance with Ezra Klein. I hope he listened to the guy. I hope he reads that book. If he implemented any of it, I'd be pleased.
Yeah, those two, though, are, I think, hoping to associate. Right, their ideas I agree with completely. I don't know that their ideas, I think their ideas, how do I say this, might prove to be not political winners in the realm of actually like winning
if
votes.
I like them, the answer is no.
Exactly.
I am the reverse bell. I'm the bell meter.
Yes.
If I like it, you're doomed.
And they don't know that yet. They're still at the stage where like, we have an exciting new idea that's really good, so it will persuade people who adopt those ideas will win at the ballot box. I'm like, okay, good luck with that. See you in a few years.
Noting that we like the ideas, what would you do then?
What?
Like, what would you do to get the ideas promulgated?
I think, I have no idea, but I don't think the ideas are going to be winners basically in the Democratic electorate right now anyway. The Democratic electorate, or the candidates who are doing well, are ones that speak to this full-throated, furious populism of Bernie Sanders and AOC. And the perspective of those people is that we've tried it your way 18 different times. Kamala Harris is your candidate, a boring, centrist liberal who she would agree with all your little tweaks to the regulatory code. That's snooze. We're doing redistribution. We're doing
greed.
Labor. We're doing that's what Democrats want. If you're someone who's really annoyed about regulation, you're you have more of a home in the Republican Party, frankly. You don't have domination in the Republican Party. The Republican Party on the national level does terrible things on regulation, but at least it's more of an open fight there.
I'm a bit more optimistic. Now granted, of my 6 friends, 4 of them are abundance Democrats.
Yeah.
So my anecdotal sample size is definitely skewed, but it seems to me that the Democratic Party's in a flux right now. They're in a debate. They've not decided are they going to be the neoliberal party or are they going to be the Bernie Sanders party? But I don't think it's foreordained, and I think weirdly there's a very good chance they wind up being the abundance neoliberal party, and that a lot of Republicans who understand economics, who don't want a command economy and don't want the government buying 10% in Intel and don't want it having golden shares in U.S. Steel, that those guys come over. So you might end up, which it won't be great if there's only one party that has those people, but it might end up being the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I think that's all a lot of wishful thinking. It'll never happen that way, but good luck with that.
Yeah. Again, if I think I was the very last person to endorse Andrew Yang in 2020, and then he immediately dropped out. And I learned my lesson.
There you go.
The second I say somebody's good, they're dead.
Whenever they're like, someone says, my political whatever is having a moment, I'm like, oh, I remember moments.
Yeah.
The thing about moments is they're brief in the end.
Do you think that Mamdani is having a moment, or is he in fact emblematic of the crimson tide of socialism that has become?
I think he's emblematic of how easy it is to get elected in New York as someone with very far left ideas. The electorate there is to the left of the electorate everywhere else. And he's up against, and Andrew Cuomo is a terrible candidate, a deeply flawed, despicable person. I don't think I could bring myself to vote for him, even though I would obviously prefer his ideas to Zohran's. So if I would struggle with the question between these two, then he's dead in the water, obviously.
He seemed to almost, like he couldn't be governor, so he'd slum it with New York City. He seemed to almost resent having to do it. I hope, since it seems likely that Mamdani is going to get elected, I hope he builds those government-run grocery stores. Yeah. Because apparently we don't learn our lessons from the Cold War, and every generation needs to get smacked in the face.
Well, that's what George Will said, that every so often we have to run a constrained experiment with socialism, remind everyone why it doesn't work, and then
I think George Will, as so frequently, is dead on that one. And if we can just have a couple of really stupid grocery stores fail in New York City to remind everybody that doesn't work, it could be a good learning lesson for them.
Liberal people, Democrats need a reminder of why socialism is bad, and young Republicans need a reminder about why National Socialism is bad. We'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for watching Free Media. Like, share, and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing by leaving a comment or harassing us on whatever social media platform you prefer. And we'll be back next week with more great content. See you then.